for quite some time, ever since Skip Bayless decided to make the move over to Fox Sports, leave First Take with Stephen A. Smith, and start his own debate show in the morning, Undisputed with Shannon Sharpe, it has been a big draw for them. Now, obviously, all mainstream media, we've seen ratings dipping for quite some time, but when you look at all the shows they have, that is their flagship show. Skip Bayless, Shannon Sharpe arguing with each other each and every day. We saw, especially around the Damar Hamlin stuff, that their relationship had fractured. That it didn't seem like it was just arguing about sports in front of a camera for these guys. There seemed like something personal was going on. It seemed like more than that. And then we get the news that Shannon Sharpe is gone. And with all of that being out there, suddenly everyone started talking about Skip Bayless. Fox's problem, nobody wants to work with Skip Bayless. And there's all this big stuff coming about how controlling he is, how he doesn't want anybody to outshine him, how he controlled every single little thing. Shannon wanted to be a bigger part of it, reportedly, but that didn't happen. You've got Shannon Sharpe liking tweets, basically calling Skip Bayless a piece of shit. Like, this is the quote. My take. Shannon Sharpe has outgrown Skip Bayless. He's far superior. He's a wonderfully bright future ahead. Bayless, meanwhile, won't find another partner. His career will nosedive because he's a piece of shit. Shannon Sharpe liked that tweet. Now, once articles got out there talking about it, he unliked it, but whatever. We saw Charles Barkley slam him over it. We see Jonathan Coachman, who worked at ESPN with Skip Bayless for a while, slamming Skip Bayless as well. And it does seem like there's a really organized, push against Skip Bayless right now with Shannon Sharpe leaving. John, what was your first take, no pun intended, when you heard when you heard that Shannon was leaving?
Well, I wasn't surprised because when the whole Damar Hamlin thing went down, I said in the video, I think Shannon Sharpe is going to be out sometime this year. I just wasn't anticipating it being right now. I thought it'd be like later on in the year, but this doesn't surprise me that Shannon was out of there. Remember, after Damar Hamlin collapsed the next day, Shannon didn't show up to Undisputed. And then when he came back, it got pretty personal. He's like, Skip, I wish you would have taken it down. I'm not taking it down. I stick by what I say. I was like, whoa, something is definitely wrong here. And right on cue, Shannon Sharpe was out of there, man. I mean, this ain't Stephen A. Obviously, it's not Stephen A. and Skip Bayless. If you watch Shannon Sharpe and Skip, and I was watching them for many, many years, man, something happened, and it became personal. And then Shannon Sharpe comes out, a few months back saying, no, we ain't friends. We don't hang out. We don't do any of that stuff. He said that. So I was like, man, they're done. They're done.
Yeah, it certainly seems like he's wanted out for a while. What's your take on this thing, Beardo?
Yeah, I actually used to watch Undisputed for a while when it first started. And, I used to actually be a fan of Shannon Sharpe, but Donald Trump broke that man.
Yes, he did.
He completely changed his attitude and his tone and just how his entire approach on that show because of how much Donald Trump broke him. And there's a little bit of a double standard here because it seems like Shannon Sharpe believes that when he says something outrageous that he believes, he's not going to apologize for it and he's going to stick by it. But when he decides that somebody else says something that he doesn't necessarily agree with, you ought to take that back right now. So Shannon Sharpe, to me, he's fallen off a little bit as far as being entertaining, his credibility, because he's just too opinionated nowadays, man. And I know we all have our opinions, but Shannon Sharpe, he's gotten pretty ridiculous in the past few years.
I think that, to me, the entire debate show thing is losing steam. I really think that people are kind of done with that. That has been like so many of these shows for so long. And I think people are just tired of it in general. Shannon Sharpe, obviously incredible NFL player, big personality. I don't really care about his opinions on basketball or baseball. If he's talking about football, of course, I'm going to listen to a guy who's played the game at his level, but I don't find him super compelling. I also am tired of listening to Skip Bayless. I've heard Skip Bayless talking about sports for fucking 15 years, and I'm kind of over it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's the way a lot of people feel for both of these guys and for that debate scene in general, to be honest. I think that's one of the reasons that ESPN went out to get Pat McAfee. We all have big problems, right, with the fact that he agreed to sign on to ESPN and all these things. But it sounds like ESPN wants to try to tap into something new because what's happening mainstream media wise, just the format is not working right now. You can tell with the dwindling audiences. So I don't know. I think Shannon Sharpe's obviously a big enough guy. He's got a big enough a draw to do his own thing. He can do his own thing, make a ton of money. Skip Bayless will find somebody else to put there. I don't think that this departure destroys the show. I think the show is just kind of already losing steam. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. And Stephen A. went on his podcast and he called for ESPN to hire Shannon Sharpe. He said he would want him on a First Take. But when you talk about these debate shows dying, I think it's that people are looking for alternatives to mainstream media, mainstream sports media. I mean, Stephen A. Smith's podcast is actually growing because it's actually different than what you would actually see Stephen A. actually say on First Take. Like Stephen A. came out and slammed Democrats for not talking about black on black crime. He would never say that on First Take. Even though they do get political, he would never say that because on his own podcast, he has more freedom to actually express his true feelings.
And he had Clay Travis on the podcast.
Yeah, Clay Travis on there. Yeah,
stuff like that. So go ahead, Beardo.
They're not on a timer. That's the thing. People are falling in love with this kind of Rich Eisen show kind of type, the Pat McAfee show, where he can speak his mind. His boys put in their input, and it's just like us and like our friends when you sit down and you can just talk about sports and you can like yell at each other and just keep going. And there's no timer. There's no moderator trying to say, all right, now let's finish up. Let's get to the next topic. It's free flowing, and that's what people like. That's what people crave because it reminds them of how they are with their buddies. And this whole debate show, like it gets old, like PTI, yeah, that was cool for a little bit.
I love that back in the day,
but it's old now, man. You can't. Yeah. Anyways,
what people are looking for is authenticity.
Correct.
That's what people are looking for across all forms of media. It doesn't matter if we're talking about politics, entertainment, sports. That's why people increasingly are going after alternative media and consuming alternative media. So I think that's one of the biggest problems they probably need to address for these shows is it doesn't come off as authentic. It seems like everything's scripted out. Oh, I'm going to take this side. You're going to take that side. And we're going to argue about LeBron versus Jordan for the fucking millionth time. Like that kind of stuff. So I think that was probably the biggest reason that these things have had problems. I don't know who they're going to get to work with Skip Bayless. It'll probably won't be quite as good or quite as entertaining of a show without Shannon Sharpe there.
Well, Michael Irvin needs some work, but he's still under contract. They're just not putting him out there. I think Skip and Michael Irvin, I believe that would actually work out. But I don't think it's going to happen.
Probably do well. Yeah. And I could see Shannon, like if I was Shannon Sharpe, I would do my own thing. I would do my own
podcast too.
He's got all these contacts and he bring all these different, I'd do my own thing. Now maybe make appearances over on First Take. Maybe once a week, go on First Take with Stephen A. Smith because that's kind of how they do that thing. It's a rotating now.
Right.
We'll see what happens.